Chapter 31, Expansion Plan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Take out the soul sealing wood, the quality is only the first grade middle grade, but there is no other way, it is really short of money, and can only afford the first grade upper grade. The wood has been processed, and the wood core has been completely hollowed out to form a hollow structure, which is convenient for the spiritual liquid to flow, so as to introduce it into the mountain cave. All Zhou Daoqing needs to do is to carry out simple processing and connect more than a dozen soul sealing wood. When he came to the underground cave, Zhou Daoqing first dug a passage from the inside of the cave to the barren lake for placing the soul sealing wood. The soul sealing wood leads to the mountain through the lake, connecting the two places for the transportation of spiritual liquid. Then, the most important thing is to draw a spiritual vein from the spiritual spring, make a small opening to lead out a thin spiritual liquid, and lead it to the outside valley without affecting the operation of the spiritual spring itself. After doing all this, only a quarter of an hour later, Meng Yueshan's surprised voice came from the communication stone. "My lord, the spring water here has really become a spiritual spring." Meng Yueshan is currently in the valley. If a spiritual spring appears there, it means that the spiritual vein is very smoothly activated. Zhou Daoqing also breathed a sigh of relief. It is a very dangerous thing to artificially create a spiritual vein. If you are not careful, you may destroy the entire spiritual spring. However, strictly speaking, this is not considered to be creating a spiritual vein. It can only be said that it is to use the spiritual spring liquid to dilute a batch of spiritual spring water. However, the effect is not bad. It can maintain the problem of insufficient cultivation of Meng Yueshan and others. The huge amount of spiritual spring water can also irrigate the spiritual field, assist in cultivation, etc., and it is not a problem to support a small force. Back to the island, Zhou Daoqing went directly to the opposite valley through the passage. The gurgling spring water flowed out, and the spiritual energy was mixed in the spring water, emitting a faint white mist, which made people feel refreshed after smelling it. The pool in the valley outside was already filled with spring water, and the spiritual energy above was lingering, making the surrounding weeds full of vitality. The concentration of spiritual energy in the valley also increased a lot, almost reaching the first level middle grade, and even close to the first level upper grade, which was a bit more concentrated than the spiritual energy of Barren Lake. Seeing Zhou Daoqing coming, Meng Yueshan walked over excitedly. "Sir, I didn't expect it to be true. This spiritual vein is about to reach the first level upper grade. It's incredible." Huang Zhuo couldn't hide his joy. He grabbed the soil on the ground and said in shock, "The soil nearby is gradually turning into a spiritual field under the irrigation of the spiritual spring. This place can be used as a base for a force or family." I didn't expect that after being a casual cultivator for a lifetime, I could still practice in this environment in the end. Zhang Yin was so happy that he cried. Zhou Daoqing looked at the few people helplessly. Although he was in a good mood, he was not as excited as Meng Yueshan and the other two. "Okay, you guys look for a suitable place to open a cave, and use it as your base in the future." Meng Yueshan looked around, touched his beard, and said seriously, "Sir, the spiritual energy in the mountain passage is the most concentrated, and it is also the main body of this spiritual vein. I plan to open a cave directly in the mountain." "All right." Zhou Daoqing had no objection and nodded in approval. "It's good to live directly in the mountain, and I can just take care of the spiritual vein to prevent accidents." Looking around again, Zhou Daoqing suddenly found that the diluted spiritual spring pool in the valley was directly exposed to the air, and the spiritual energy dissipated very quickly. This is not a good phenomenon. If the spiritual energy dissipates too quickly, most of it will be wasted, and the consumption of the spiritual spring will also be very fast. In addition, the large-scale diffusion of spiritual energy is likely to attract the attention of cultivators and monsters, allowing others to discover this hidden valley. After repeated consideration, Zhou Daoqing returned to the island, dismantled his set of gathering spirit formation, and then rearranged it in this valley. The spirit gathering array covered the pool, immediately effectively preventing the spread of spiritual energy, making the spiritual energy in the valley more concentrated and less likely to be discovered by other cultivators. After doing all this, this valley settlement took shape. The rich spiritual energy, hidden location, and relatively spacious living environment were enough to support the development of a small force. After clapping his hands, Zhou Daoqing called Meng Yueshan, who was digging a cave, and said, "The environment in the valley is good and the terrain is relatively flat. We can irrigate the spiritual fields and plant some spiritual fields in the future. We should be able to be self-sufficient." Meng Yueshan nodded seriously, excitedly, "My lord, I think so too. This valley is not small. I estimate that more than 20 acres of spiritual fields can be reclaimed. When the time comes, all of them will be used to provide a stable supply of cultivation resources. If we are free on weekdays, we can also go out to hunt wild animals and use other means to obtain spiritual stones. The harvest should not be low." As he spoke, Meng Yueshan suddenly frowned and sighed with some embarrassment. "It's a pity that we are short of manpower. If we can get more manpower." This sentence suddenly inspired some ideas of Zhou Daoqing. He couldn't help but brighten his eyes and asked, "Meng Yueshan, manpower is not a problem. Are there other casual cultivators nearby?" Hearing this, Meng Yueshan was stunned at first, and then immediately reacted, keenly aware of the deep meaning in the words. "Sir, are you planning to recruit another group of independent cultivators?" Meng Yueshan asked in a low voice. Zhou Daoqing did not hide his thoughts and said, "If we really want to grow and develop, it is not enough to rely on just the three of you." "Indeed." Meng Yueshan nodded, and said with some concern, "However, the casual cultivators who can move around nearby are not very strong, but they are not too weak." "How strong are the casual cultivators around here? Are they similar to your configuration?" Meng Yueshan introduced. "Some pure casual cultivators may act alone. Their strength is generally strong, probably in the late stage of qi refining, and may even reach the foundation establishment stage." Zhou Daoqing frowned slightly. He didn't believe that casual cultivators of this strength, who dared to act alone, didn't have some skills. However, as long as their strength did not reach the foundation establishment stage, they could be fearless in a one-on-many situation. "What about casual cultivators like you?" "Most casual cultivators, if they go out to hunt wild animals, will also form a small team similar to ours, with about 5 to 10 people and similar configurations. The leader is in the late stage of qi refining, and the others are probably in the middle stage of qi refining." Meng Yueshan said. Zhou Daoqing thought for a moment and asked cautiously, "What is the strength of you 6 rounds among the independent cultivators?" "If it is in this area, it should be barely able to reach the upper middle level." After getting this answer, Zhou Daoqing finally had a general understanding of the strength of independent cultivators. Chapter 32, First Class Mid-Level Golden Sword Formation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Okay, you stay here first. Explore the surrounding situation recently. If there are other arrangements, I will come to you. Zhou Daoqing said a few words and returned directly to the island. After watering and fertilizing the spiritual field, Zhou Daoqing simply cooked some spiritual rice. Each grain was crystal clear and full, with a sweet and soft taste, and a strong sense of protection. The only flaw was the lack of some spiritual vegetables. Eating only spiritual rice was really a bit choking. When the spiritual field in the valley is well irrigated in the future, we must plant more spiritual plants of the same type to improve the quality of life. After filling his stomach, Zhou Daoqing returned to the underground cave while thinking and stayed at home peacefully. He habitually glanced at the purple-green spiritual bamboo and the black-patterned lotus in the spiritual spring, and then Zhou Daoqing's eyes lit up and he uttered a surprised sigh. The black-patterned lotus sprouted? A few days ago, he had put the black-patterned lotus seeds into the spiritual spring. There had been no reaction before, and it had always maintained a weak vitality, but there was no sign of sprouting. But at this time, the outer layer of the seed's dark brown coat was torn open, and a tender white bud emerged, with more than twice the vitality. In the rich spiritual liquid, the second-level middle-grade black-patterned lotus, with a probability so low that it was negligible, actually came to life. Zhou Daoqing was so excited that he couldn't express it in words. This was the highest quality spiritual plant he had ever come into contact with. If it could mature smoothly, the spiritual stone income that this black-patterned lotus could bring would definitely exceed 5,000 low-grade spiritual stones. As far as Zhou Daoqing knew, even in the entire Zhou family, the highest quality spiritual plant planted was only the second-level middle grade, which was obtained by the previous patriarch at an auction at a large amount of spiritual stones. Now it has been planted in the Tianqi and is one of the most precious treasures in the family. Moreover, the germination of this seed in front of him represents more than just a black-patterned lotus. It means that the environment of this spiritual spring is very suitable for the growth of black-patterned lotus, so it can be planted for a long time in the future, which is a long-term benefit. With excitement, Zhou Daoqing checked the purple qi green bamboo again. After these days of growth, the level of the purple qi green bamboo has been getting closer to the second level, and it is only one step away from successfully breaking through the original level. This green bamboo, which was originally only the first grade upper grade, is gradually transforming into a more precious natural treasure under the nurturing of the innate purple qi. The 6 green bamboo shoots are also growing vigorously, and their size has increased a lot. They are also greener than ordinary green bamboos, and are stained with a trace of purple qi. The quality has reached the first grade middle grade. Zhou Daoqing is almost certain that after absorbing the innate purple qi, the quality of the purple qi green bamboo can definitely reach the second grade. Zhou Daoqing's eyes flickered, and his thoughts surged in his heart. In the formation inheritance, there seems to be a formation called Green Spirit Sword Formation, which uses green bamboo as the main body. The level reaches the first grade upper grade, both offensive and defensive, and the power is very powerful. This formation is what he kept in mind when he first checked the formation inheritance. After all, among the formation materials of Bailing sword formation, the most precious Bailing bamboo happened to be in his possession, and it was the higher quality purple qi Bailing bamboo. If he could set up the Bailing sword formation, the power would be absolutely terrifying, and it would be very likely to reach the peak of the first grade upper grade. It seems that I have to speed up. I hope that before the Bailing bamboo shoots mature, I can successfully become a first grade upper grade formation master. Zhou Daoqing secretly made up his mind and set a goal for himself. Returning to the training room, he took out the formation inheritance, found the formation diagram of the first grade middle grade, golden sword formation, and devoted himself to studying it. The first grade lower grade formation is relatively simple, but it is just the foundation of the formation, and the first grade lower grade formation master can only be regarded as an entry level. The first grade middle grade formation is more complicated, and the difficulty of setting up is completely different. It took Zhou Daoqing half a month just to learn and memorize the content of the formation diagram. Golden sword formation is mainly used for attacking. When controlled by the formation master, its power can reach the late 7th level of qi training, which should not be underestimated in the qi training stage. However, Zhou Daoqing does not plan to set up this formation in the underground cave, because it is already very safe here. To the north of the island is the island of Zhou Daobai and Zhao Yunji. If there is any danger, they will definitely pass through them first. As for the south, it was indeed necessary to take precautions in the past to prevent someone from crossing the peak to Belan Lake like Meng Yueshan and others, but now it is completely unnecessary. Meng Yueshan and his 3 men are stationed in the southern valley. Anyone who wants to come here needs to pass through them, which greatly improves safety. Therefore, Zhou Daoqing plans to set up this golden sword formation directly in the valley, which is the most likely place for fighting. If a set of first-level medium-grade formation can be set up, the defense will be much better. After conducting a field survey, Zhou Daoqing found that the valley was generally east-west oriented, with a relatively wide terrain in the middle and narrow terrain on both sides. The Lingquan pool was right in the middle, with enough space to arrange the golden sword formation. However, the widest area in the middle was needed to irrigate the spiritual fields and plant spiritual plants, so it was not suitable to occupy too much. At this time, Meng Yueshan gave a suggestion. Sir, there is a small road on the east side of this valley. If people outside want to come in, they can only enter from there. That's what we did at the time. Can't we come in from other directions? Zhou Daoqing asked in confusion. Meng Yueshan thought for a while and said, the mountains in other directions are too high, and the terrain outside is very complicated. Only there is a gap in the east, which can be seen at a glance. Anyone with a sound mind should come from the east. Walk. I see. Zhou Daoqing was thoughtful, but for safety reasons, he still went outside the valley to conduct a personal survey of the mountain. After all, this was his territory, and he would spend at least a long time here. Even if the family agrees, it will not be a problem to stay here forever in the future. Therefore, you can never be too careful. The terrain outside is indeed as Meng Yueshan said. Except for the obvious road to the east, the rest is full of rugged rocks, with many fractures and deep ditches, making it impossible to pass. In that case, the east side is indeed the only entrance. After Zhou Daoqing confirmed it, he inspected the east entrance and confirmed the location of the formation. This time, the process of arranging the formation was not easy. After all, it was a first-order mid-level formation, and the process was not a little complicated. So after all, there were some minor accidents. Because of slight errors, the entire formation fell short. Fortunately, only a small part was destroyed, and other materials could still be used, so the damage was not magnified. Chapter 33 Auction. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After 2 adjustments and improvements, and a lot of effort, this set of first-level mid-grade, golden sword formation, was finally successfully arranged. Zhou Daoqing was also successfully promoted to a first-level mid-level array mage. Call Meng Yueshan and 3 people and give them the method of controlling the formation. If an enemy invades here in the future, they will be blocked directly with the golden sword formation. Moreover, the terrain here is easy to defend and difficult to attack. With the help of Meng Yueshan and 3 people, with such strength, it would not be a problem to block a strong person at the 9th level of Qi training. After doing this, Meng Yueshan found Zhou Daoqing and said, "Sir, the settlement here is considered complete. There are still many open spaces in the valley. We plan to open up spiritual fields. Which crops do you think are more suitable for planting? Have you measured the specific scope? How many spiritual fields can be reclaimed?" A conservative estimate of 15 acres. If you add in the scattered land in the surrounding corners, it will probably be closer to 18 acres. Meng Yueshan had obviously already understood it and answered directly without much thought. The number of spiritual fields that can be cultivated is less than Zhou Daoqing expected. He originally thought that more than 20 acres could be cultivated. But thinking about it, this valley seems to be quite large, but in fact it is long and strip-shaped, and the actual usable area is not very large. After Zhou Daoqing considered it, he said, "Then cultivate 15 acres. The remaining area can be used for other purposes. You can water all these 15 acres of spiritual fields into first-level high-grade spiritual fields. As for the seeds, we will go there together later. Buy it in Beifeng City." When he was on the island, he was worried that the quality of the spiritual field would be too high and would attract the attention of the family, so he did not dare to raise the level unscrupulously. However, in this hidden valley, Zhou Daoqing could water it with confidence and boldness. A week later, when Zhou Daoqing came to the valley again, 15 acres of high-quality spiritual land had been cultivated and evenly arranged around the Lingquan pool. It contained rich spiritual energy and was very different from ordinary soil. "Sir, are you going to Beifeng City?" Meng Yueshan's face glowed red, his aura strengthened a lot, and it was obvious that his spiritual veins had played a lot of role. The same goes for Huangzhua and Zhang Yin. They used to be casual cultivators with no fixed place and no fixed spiritual vein cultivation. They barely reached the 6th and 7th levels of Qi refining when they were over 40 years old. Now that they have spiritual veins, they have devoted themselves almost wholeheartedly to cultivation. The aura on Zhang Yin's body has almost reached the peak of the 6th level of Qi refining, and is about to break through to the 7th level of Qi refining. Zhou Daoqing nodded and said, "You guys pack up and let's go to Beifeng City together." Half a month later, a group of 4 people came to Beifeng City. When Zhou Daoqing was about to go to the grocery store to select the seeds he needed to buy, he was interrupted by a voice behind him. "Meng Yueshan." Zhou Daoqing turned around curiously and saw a tall and thin man walking from a distance. He was dressed in green cloth and linen and had the 8th level of Qi refining. As he approached, the tall and lanky man said, "Old Meng, have you found a perfect place to hunt monsters recently? You have disappeared for such a long time. Seeing that your face is glowing, it seems that you have gained a good harvest. Meng Yueshan frowned slightly and looked at Zhou Daoqing with a questioning look, as if he was worried about being misunderstood. Zhou Daoqing didn't say much, gave him a look that let him do whatever he wanted, and then retreated to the rear. After receiving Zhou Daoqing's promise, Meng Yueshan glanced at this person casually and said, "What?" Meng disappeared for a few days. "Do you still miss Lin?" "Haha, that's not the case, but you and I are old acquaintances. If we have the opportunity to hunt monsters together, I would be very happy." The tall and thin man smiled and wanted to reach out to hook Meng Yueshan's shoulders, but Meng Yueshan was stopped by him. Yueshan avoided in disgust. Zhou Daoqing could tell that the two of them had known each other for a long time. They might have had some minor conflicts before, but the overall relationship was pretty good, and they were probably Zhou Daoqing's friends. "If nothing else, what's the point of stopping me on the street?" Meng Yueshan said angrily. It's okay. Did you know that Xian Pavilion recently organized an auction in Beifeng City?" "Auction?" Meng Yueshan said thoughtfully, "A large-scale auction under the name of Xian Pavilion?" "Yes, Beifeng City is not Dafang City. It is not easy to hold an auction like this." "Let's go and see it together then." Meng Yueshan thought for a moment and refused. "Let's just go together, but I will go and have a look when I have time." "Okay, I won't delay you any longer." It can be seen that the relationship between the two parties is good. After the two parties communicated for a while, they said goodbye and separated. Meng Yueshan, who is this person? Is he also a casual cultivator of this generation? After everyone left, Zhou Daoqing came out from behind and asked with interest. Meng Yueshan explained briefly, "Yes, sir, I had just broken through the 7th level of Qi training and joined a seniors hunting team." Lin Yuan was also among them at that time. He was also at the 7th level of Qi training, so there was a period of friendship, and this person has a good temperament, so even if they separated later, they will always be in contact. Zhou Daoqing nodded. Among casual cultivators, they also have their own circles. This is normal. What's going on at the auction? Is such that. Meng Yueshan knew that although Zhou Daoqing was powerful and a noble formation master, his experience in all aspects was immature and he was not experienced in the world, so he explained in detail. Among monks, there are generally two forms of item exchange meetings. One of them is a small-scale secret exchange meeting. It is usually led by some monks with higher status and invites some monks with similar strength to exchange items. Most of them there are many barter exchanges and you can participate in them from time to time. The other type is a large auction led by some big forces or large chambers of commerce. It is relatively formal and has higher quality resources, but the number is relatively small, especially in a small market like Baihe Market. It is possible that there may not be one for several years. After hearing this, Zhou Daoqing understood. He knew about auctions, and had heard about them from his family elders, but he had never participated in one. As for small exchange meetings, this was the first time Zhou Daoqing had heard of them, which was considered to have broadened his horizons. "Can we participate in the auction?" Zhou Daoqing asked. "For small auctions like this, you can participate as long as you pay the ticket fee." Meng Yueshan replied. "I see." Zhou Daoqing nodded slightly, and then asked, "Can such an auction be auctioned by consignment?" Meng Yueshan scratched his head, thought for a long time and said ambiguously, "I'm not sure about this. It should be possible, but there are probably some restrictions. It's impossible to take all items to the auction." Zhou Daoqing rubbed his eyebrows. It seems that Meng Yueshan doesn't know much about this, so he didn't ask any more questions, but made a decision: go buy seeds first, and then go to the auction. Chapter 34 Formation Materials, Yellow Thorn Vine. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zhou Daoqing has considered the seeds he needs to buy this time. 15 mu of first-grade spiritual fields must be planted with first-grade spiritual plants to maximize the benefits. Zhou Daoqing needs to consider two aspects. One is to improve strength and meet his own cultivation needs. The other is economic value, which can earn more spiritual stones. If he considers cultivation, he will naturally choose to plant spiritual grains and earth essence grass as last time. Long-term use can improve the speed of cultivation and break through to the 8th level of qi refining as soon as possible, as for which spiritual plants can be exchanged for more spiritual stones. Zhou Daoqing himself was not clear, so he asked the experienced Meng Yueshan, but Meng Yueshan was also very embarrassed about this question. If there is a spiritual plant that can obtain more spiritual energy after planting, wouldn't everyone plant it? Zhou Daoqing thought so too. His demand was too vague, so after some thought, he chose to settle for the second best. After careful consideration, he chose a spiritual plant that was useless to others but could create greater value in his hands, yellow thorn vine. This is a first-level spiritual plant, which is generally of the first-level medium or high grade. It has high requirements for the growth environment and requires rich spiritual energy to grow high-quality yellow thorn vine. This kind of spiritual plant is actually relatively less useful. It can neither be used for alchemy nor for making talismans, but it can be used as a material for refining weapons and whip-like weapons. However, among the materials of the same level, other exquisite materials such as green stem spiritual vine are more suitable for refining weapons. This leads to the very awkward positioning of yellow thorn vine. Although it can be planted, the spiritual stone income is very low, and few people pay attention to it. However, in the array inheritance obtained by Zhou Daoqing, there are exactly 2 powerful arrays that need to use yellow thorn vine. Generally speaking, array diagrams are extremely precious and are not widely circulated in the market. In addition to the master-disciple inheritance, array masters rarely communicate with each other in other situations, so this is Zhou Daoqing's unique array. One is called Thorn Vine Formation, a first-level medium-grade formation, which combines control and attack effects. Whether it is fighting against the enemy or hunting wild beasts, it has very good effects. The other is called 100 Vine Formation, a first-level high-grade formation, which is considered an advanced version of Thorn Vine Formation. The yellow thorn vine used is of higher quality and more in quantity, so the attack and control effects are also stronger, and the number of thorn vines released is more, and the power is not bad. The main material used in these 2 formations is yellow thorn vine, and the formation itself has a wide range of uses. Whether it is family forces or casual cultivators, it can be used, and there is no worry about sales. After making a decision, Zhou Daoqing no longer hesitated. In the end, a large number of yellow thorn vine seedlings were purchased. The price was not expensive, but it also consumed all the spirit stones on his body. After purchasing, Meng Yueshan found an inn and stayed temporarily in Beifang City. It can be clearly seen that the flow of people in Beifang market has increased in the past few days. The hawking on the street has become much louder. Many independent cultivators have also returned from the wilderness. Many family forces have come here specifically, obviously to participate in the auction of Xian Pavilion. At such a turbulent time, Zhou Daoqing is more low-key and unwilling to get into trouble, so he has been practicing in the inn. Each room in the inn has a strong sound insulation effect and very good confidentiality. As long as you don't go out, there will be no accidents. However, today, before the auction starts, Zhou Daoqing plans to go to Xian Pavilion. After all, although the 4 people plan to participate in the auction, they are short of money and don't even have a low-grade spirit stone on them. It is really a bit shabby. At present, the only things Zhou Daoqing can sell and exchange for spirit stones are only 2 items, 2 sets of falling stone formations and 2 bottles of undiluted spirit spring liquid. Although the quality of the falling rock formation is only the first grade inferior, it is a formation after all, and its price is far higher than that of items of the same level. With a market price of about 200 inferior spiritual stones, the spiritual spring liquid is also of high value, because although most forces have spiritual veins, they do not have treasures such as the spiritual spring eye, so it is impossible to obtain such a rich spiritual essence. Moreover, this kind of extremely rich spiritual liquid with the quality of the second grade has a wide range of uses. If some is added during the process of alchemy and refining, there is a high probability of improving the success rate and quality. Zhou Daoqing conservatively estimated that a small bottle of palm-sized spiritual spring liquid is worth more than 500 spiritual stones. If it is at the auction, the price should be higher. The value of 2 bottles exceeds 1,000 inferior spiritual stones. Therefore, Before the auction begins, Zhou Daoqing must go to Ziyun Pavilion in advance to find a way to sell the falling rock formation and the spiritual spring liquid, or add these two items to the auction. Zhou Daoqing did not call Zhang Yin and Huang Zhua, but left alone with Meng Yuashan and went to Ziyun Pavilion. Meng Yuashan was still dressed as usual, and Zhou Daoqing also wore a black robe and covered his face to prevent his identity from being exposed, because both the formation and the existence of the spiritual spring liquid were very sensitive and not suitable to be revealed in front of people, of course, including Zhou Daoqing's identity. Not only would it lead to the disaster of killing, it might also bring some unnecessary trouble to the Zhou family, so if necessary, the identity must be concealed. At the same time, Zhou Daoqing was also thinking about a problem in his mind. As his main means, the formation will need to be sold frequently in the future. It's okay once or twice, but you can't wear a black robe to cover your identity every time you trade, right? It seems that I need to think of a way to find a suitable identity to trade. Zhou Daoqing thought about it, letting this matter sink deep in his heart as something to consider during the next period of time. All the way to Ziyun Pavilion. The shop is tall and noble, 4 stories high. It is made of special scented wood. Right above it is a huge plaque with 3 gilt characters, Ziyun Pavilion. Meng Yuashan walked in front and went straight to the depths of the store, but he did not find a higher status steward, so he randomly found a clerk and asked bluntly. Is the store manager here? That the clerk with a mustache looked at Meng Yuashan and said, what do you want? If you want to buy something, you can talk to me directly. Meng Yuashan shook his head, you can't talk about selling resources. Your Excellency, please don't underestimate me. Although my status is not high, I can still make the final decision on the purchase and sale of ordinary cultivation resources. The mustached clerk stroked his beard, and it seemed that he had high qualifications. Meng Yuashan looked back at Zhou Daoqing, as if seeking advice. Zhou Daoqing nodded slightly, and then Meng Yuashan took out a set of formations and said, can you also make the final decision on the selection of items for the auction? Seeing the items that Meng Yuashan took out, the Bazihu's eyes widened, he lowered his posture, and there was an awkward smile in his eyes. He hurriedly said, I'll go find the manager right away. 5 minutes later, a woman with a graceful figure walked down from the 2nd floor. Chapter 35 Aunt Qin Mu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The woman has a graceful figure, wearing a lavender cheongsam. Her slender waist is slightly twisting like a water snake to outline a perfect curve, and the exposed thigh skin reveals an alluring rhythm. Sir, go upstairs and talk. Her smoky eyes looked past Meng Yuashan in front of her. The woman looked at Zhou Daoqing behind her and spoke softly. Zhou Daoqing raised his eyebrows slightly, secretly thinking that this woman was not simple. Her every move was full of charm, but her aura was unpredictable, and her strength was definitely not weak. He calmly stepped upstairs and looked at Yu's twisting waist in front of him. For a time, the sun and menstruation in the body moved involuntarily, and a mysterious feeling appeared in my heart. Zhou Daoqing's eyes narrowed slightly, and his thoughts seemed to be out of control. He could vaguely feel that the talent of the woman in front of him seemed to be higher than that of Zhao Yunji, which made his body involuntarily feel a desire. It would be great if I could sleep with this girl for one night. Before he could finish thinking about it, Zhou Daoqing was shocked. He quickly suppressed this thought, suppressed the desire in his heart, and at the same time became vigilant. The secret method of sun and menstruation is really terrible, it actually messed up my mind. Zhou Daoqing has a lot of thoughts, but fortunately, at present, this influence is not very serious, but when a woman with higher talent appears, it will make Zhou Daoqing feel inexplicably possessive. Even though the impact was not big, Zhou Daoqing still made up his mind to be more careful to avoid turning himself into a beast. However, it is not completely without disadvantages. At least this ability to sense other people's talents can be regarded as a unique method. As if she felt the gaze behind her, Aunt Qin Mu, who was walking in front, frowned, and her voice was soft and sweet. Have you seen enough, fellow Taoist? Do you need the little woman to walk again so that fellow Taoist can enjoy it? The expressions of the two people behind him froze, and the situation suddenly felt awkward. At the critical moment, Zhou Daoqing quickly lowered his voice and said sternly, Ahem, Xiao Meng, don't be unreasonable. Although this girl is beautiful, fragrant, and has an all-powerful appearance, she is really shocking to everyone in the world, but you can't do it either. I kept staring, apologized to the girl. Meng Yueshan's pupils widened, and he was speechless and choked. His face turned red. After a long time, he held back a sentence, I just lost my temper below. I hope the girl will forgive me. Aunt Qinmu raised her eyebrows, couldn't help but twitch the corners of her mouth, and shook her head helplessly. After entering the room on the second floor, Aunt Qinmu skillfully asked Zhou Daoqing to sit down, and made tea elegantly and gracefully, with very sophisticated movements. Zhou Daoqing's eyes flickered. Although this person looked very delicate and charming, and was experienced in dealing with things, judging from his age, he was definitely no more than 30 years old. Strictly speaking, she was slightly older than Zhou Daoqing. The contrast between her age and her sophistication made Zhou Daoqing a little curious and a little more vigilant. Fellow Taoist, please have some tea. Aunt Qinmu pushed a cup of hot tea forward and said, this is a private room, and there will be no outsiders to disturb you. You can take off your robe without worries. Maybe it will be better if you and I can talk frankly. The soft touch of red lips and the soft voice are refreshing. Even the experienced Meng Yueshan couldn't help but swallow his saliva, and was a little afraid to look directly. Zhou Daoqing's mental power was strong enough to suppress the influence of sun and menstruation, so he was not affected. He lowered his voice and said, forget about taking off your robe. Please respect yourself, girl. It's just for transaction. No need to say anything else. Aunt Qinmu smiled faintly, thinking that the person in front of her was pretending to be serious and did not take it seriously. She said directly, since fellow Taoist is so cheerful, let's get to the point directly. Zhou Daoqing didn't say much, and took out 2 sets of falling stone formations and placed them on the table between the 2 of them. Aunt Qinmu glanced over it and didn't pay much attention at first. After all, the quality of the formation can be seen at a glance, and it is only a first-level low-grade one. Although formations are rare, there are always some families that have formation inheritance. After these formations are circulated in the market, some powerful forces can still obtain some. However, when Aunt Qinmu took a closer look, she showed a surprised expression. Your 2 sets of formations are not from the Huang family on Luoyun Island. Huang family? Zhou Daoqing was stunned, and the information about this family immediately appeared in his mind, and he instantly understood why the other party asked such a question. In the entire Qingshan sect, there are not many families with complete formation inheritance, and they are near Beifeng City. The only ones who can sell formations in Beifeng City are the Huang family of Luoyun Island. This is a very powerful foundation-building family, at least much stronger than the Zhou family. It has 7 strong foundation-building experts with a solid inheritance, and the strongest one has reached the 8th level of foundation building. Whenever a formation appears near Beifeng City, it is likely to come from the Huang family on Luoyun Island. Because of this, Aunt Qinmu preconceived the idea that Zhou Daoqing was from the Huang family, but when I saw the falling stone formation, in a blink of an eye, I dismissed this speculation. Precisely because the Huang family is famous, most people are well aware of the several first-order low-grade formations they possess. But there is absolutely no such falling stone formation. In front of them, Zhou Daoqing's eyes were calm. He shook his head and said, I am not from the Huang family. Can these 2 formations be auctioned at the auction? Aunt Qinmu smiled sweetly, of course you can. If you have other formations, you can also sell them to Xian Pavilion. No matter whether there is an auction or not, Xian Pavilion is willing to buy them. I got it by accident, these are the only 2 sets. Is it just an accidental acquisition? There was a hint of suspicion in Aunt Qinmu's eyes, but she didn't ask too much. Besides these 2 formations, do you have any other items to auction? Zhou Daoqing calmly took out 2 small bottles, plus this. Aunt Qinmu took the small bottle with her delicate jade fingers and gently brushed her fingers. Zhou Daoqing dodged calmly. Aunt Qinmu's eyes did not change. She sniffed lightly, and a hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. Spiritual liquid? Or second grade? Zhou Daoqing nodded slightly, yes. This spiritual liquid is pure and rich. It should come from a natural spiritual spring. I wonder if you have any other spiritual liquid. Zhou Daoqing frowned slightly, and couldn't help but sigh that this woman was experienced. Just from the quality of the spiritual liquid, she noticed the source of the spiritual liquid. Still the same rhetoric, Zhou Daoqing calmly replied, it was obtained by accident, only 2 bottles. Also obtained by accident? Aunt Qin Mu couldn't help but raise her eyebrows, staring at Zhou Daoqing, as if trying to see something. Zhou Daoqing was not moved at all, and smiled and said, Miss Qin, do you have any questions? If I can't auction it, I can sell it somewhere else. Of course I can auction it. Seeing that Zhou Daoqing's tone was slightly distant, Aunt Qin Mu stopped asking questions and took out a small token and handed it to Zhou Daoqing. The items meet the auction requirements. This is the entrance token for the auction. The auction will officially start in 2 days. You can enter for free as the owner of the auction items. Welcome to your presence. Aunt Qin Mu said in a gentle voice and appropriate words. Zhou Daoqing nodded, motioned Meng Yueshan to take it, and then turned and left. Looking at Zhou Daoqing's figure moving away, a middle-aged man walked out from behind Aunt Qin Mu and said in a deep voice, Aunt Mu, how are the items? Chapter 36, Precious Items. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Aunt Qin Mu's eyes flickered, and after a long silence she said, Second uncle, look at this formation and the spiritual fluid, what do you think? Aunt Mu is joking. You should know better about these things. Second uncle, I don't understand. Then the man asked with some confusion, what's wrong? Is there something wrong with something? Aunt Qin Mu shook her head slightly, the things are very good, but there are some issues with their origin. Oh. The middle-aged man frowned in confusion, could it be that the other party is an evil cultivator and the things were plundered? Aunt Qin Mu stood in front of the window. The cheongsam that fit her body showed exquisite curves. She supported her chin with her fingers and shook her head to deny this statement. Probably not. What I mean is that their identities seem to be somewhat special, and they are probably not ordinary monks. How can you tell? Look at this spiritual liquid, it should be the spiritual liquid from the second-level spiritual spring eyes, but I know all the families in the nearby area that have second-level spiritual spring eyes, and these 2 people are not among them. After saying this, the middle-aged man thought thoughtfully, indeed, there are very few families that can possess second-level spiritual veins, and the number of families with second-level spiritual spring eyes can be counted on one hand. Aunt Qin Mu nodded and said, so there are only 2 possibilities. The first is that they came from other places and are not local forces in this area. The second possibility is that they discovered a place that has never been discovered before. Lingquan I. Which one do you prefer? The second type. Aunt Qin Mu replied calmly, then took it out of the storage bag and exchanged it for the falling stone array, and then slowly said. There are also these 2 sets of formations. This person said they were obtained by accident. However, when I look at the details of the formation disk, they have not been used, and there are no historical traces. It is most likely that they were refined recently. When the middle-aged man heard this, he raised his eyebrows and said, just refined. Could it be that he is an array master? That's wrong. But the man quickly denied it, if he were an array master, wouldn't he know the difference between the old and new arrays? The details that even Aunt Mu can see, an array master should know better. Aunt Qin Mu nodded slightly, so, he should have exposed it to me on purpose. Why? Aunt Qin Mu smiled and said, selling formations shows that he lacks spiritual stones. Deliberately exposing his identity shows that he has plans to trade. This person will probably sell formation discs in the future. Be careful in the future. If this person seeks cooperation, you can contact. If Zhou Daoqing were present and heard these remarks, he would definitely be in awe. Because of this woman's analysis, his purpose has been analyzed to the fullest. He naturally knew that anyone with some experience could easily identify these formations. Are they newly refined formations? The reason for doing this is just to make his identity more elusive and to test Xian Pavilion's attitude. From now on, the sale of formations will be inevitable. If Xian Pavilion intends to win over him or is willing to cooperate, Zhou Daoqing will naturally want it. Leave Xian Pavilion. Sir, if you take out 2 valuable items in succession, we may attract the attention of Xian Pavilion. Oh. Will they kill people and seize treasures? That's not true, but they may investigate us, especially my identity, which can be easily found out. Meng Yueshan said with some worry. Rogue cultivators like Meng Yueshan, yes, have a natural grudge against powerful forces. They are 2 opposing parties, so they are particularly sensitive in this regard. Zhou Daoqing didn't care. Just check it out, the world is full of hustle and bustle, all for the benefit of others. Meng Yueshan nodded thoughtfully and said nothing more. After interacting with him every day, he knew that the young man in front of him was not a young and frivolous person, and he was quite capable. 2 days later, the Xian Pavilion auction officially begins. The auction, which was rare in several years, attracted many surrounding forces. A large number of monks gathered in Beifeng City and became extremely lively. Although top-level resources such as foundation establishment pills did not appear in this auction, there were also many precious items whose value should not be underestimated. For example, a second-level mid-level magic weapon with a plated fine iron rod, a second-level ice mysterious water diluent, and a set of second-level low-level exercises, golden feather flower and so on. There is even news that the final auction items of this auction are a second-order low-grade iron-armored puppet and half a purple monkey flower. It is precisely because of these 2 items that it attracts so many people because the meaning they represent is extraordinary. The second-level low-grade iron-armored puppet is equivalent to a monk in the early stage of foundation building. Although its actual combat power is not as good as that of a foundation-building strongman, and each time it is used, a large amount of spiritual stones are consumed, but its value cannot be underestimated. For the Qi Lian family, if they can obtain this puppet, it means they have a foundation-building warrior, and the overall strength of the family is barely among the foundation-building families. It is even possible to use the puppet's strength to earn enough spirit stones for the family to speed up the process of purchasing the foundation establishment pill. Even for a foundation-building family, if this puppet can be obtained, it can also be used as the family's trump card, greatly increasing the family's foundation. Another item, the purple monkey flower, is of equally extraordinary value. It is one of the 3 main materials of the foundation establishment pill. Although the specific formula of the foundation establishment pill is owned by only a few powerful forces, the main materials for refining the 3 flavors of the foundation establishment pill are widely circulated in the cultivation world. They are chalcedony mushroom, tianling fruit, and purple monkey flower. The main reason why the foundation building pill is so precious is that the materials are scarce. Even powerful forces can hardly gather them together easily. As powerful as Qingshan sect was, the last time they opened the furnace to refine the foundation building pill was 15 years ago, which shows how precious the materials are. Among these 3 materials, the jade marrow mushroom and the heavenly spirit fruit are both second-grade upper-grade natural treasures, far from being available to everyone. Although the purple monkey flower is only a second-grade medium grade, it is also expensive and is sought after by many forces. When Zhou Daoqing learned that there would be these 2 items at the auction, he knew that this auction would be very fierce. However, those who competed for these 2 items must be powerful forces, and have nothing to do with small figures like Zhou Daoqing. It just so happened that he could take advantage of others snatching the second-grade lower-grade puppets and purple monkey flowers to try to bid for some other auction items at a lower price. Zhou Daoqing brought Meng Yueshan to the Xian Pavilion auction house early. As the owner of the auction item, they got a small private room on the 2nd floor, equipped with tea, cakes and spiritual fruits. The environment was much better than the ordinary seats below. The auction started soon. The host was a graceful woman about 30 years old. She was proficient in auctions and should have been specially trained by Xian Pavilion. Fellow Taoists, I think everyone understands the rules of the auction. Now let's invite the first auction item, a first-class magic weapon, a red gold iron knife, from the Bai family, a family of weapon refiners, and it was the last head of the Bai family. Chapter 37 Green-Bearded Shrimp Fry. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The red gold iron knife can add more than 3 layers of strength to the late-stage Qi training strongmen. The starting price is 500 low-grade spirit stones. The first lot is a first-grade upper-grade magic weapon. The quality is excellent, almost close to the level of a second-grade magic weapon. Zhou Daoqing couldn't help but be moved. Magic weapons greatly increase the strength of cultivators. Whether two cultivators of the same level have a handy magic weapon has a great impact on the strength of both parties. If a cultivator has a set of matching magic weapons, talismans, pills, formations, and even puppets and beasts, then the strength can be increased by more than double, especially for a cultivator like Zhou Daoqing with a special practice. He has extremely strong defense and sustained combat capabilities. And the demand for attacking magic weapons is particularly great. It's a pity that Zhou Daoqing has always been short of money. In addition to the formation, he can't afford other resources. Looking at the red gold iron knife in front of him, Zhou Daoqing thought carefully and still didn't buy it. After all, the Zhou family is also a family of weapon refiners. Even if they want to buy magic tools, they will definitely buy them at home, and they can also make them according to their own needs to be more suitable for themselves. While thinking, the price of the red gold fine iron knife has been increased to 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. The price of an ordinary first-grade upper-grade magic tool is about 800,1200 low-grade spirit stones. After reaching this level, Zhou Daoqing is even less likely to make a move. Finally, a red gold fine iron knife was obtained by a casual cultivator who has established his foundation. Most casual cultivators do not have a stable source of income, so they have fewer spirit stones. Even if they reach the foundation building stage, many cannot afford a second-grade magic tool. The second auction item is 5 first-grade upper-grade thunder and fire talismans, with a starting price of 100 spirit stones, which is much lower than the price of magic tools. Zhou Daoqing tried to bid, but after only 5 rounds, the price was raised to 350 spirit stones, which exceeded expectations, so he gave up directly. Zhou Daoqing shook his head helplessly. All the things are good, but the price is too expensive. The third auction item is the falling rock formation. The first grade inferior should be the lowest quality auction item at this auction, but no one showed disdain, because the formation itself is very rare. Even the first grade inferior is highly sought after. Many hunting teams, even if they only have a set of first grade inferior formations, will greatly increase their safety, so the formation with a starting price of 100 spirit stones soon reached 160 inferior spirit stones, and finally, the 2 sets of formations were sold for a total of 380 inferior spirit stones, which was beyond Zhou Daoqing's expectation. If it is sold to Xian Pavilion, the price will probably not be that high. After the first income, Zhou Daoqing's confidence increased a lot, and if he needs to buy the auction items later, he can also bid with confidence. But he didn't notice that in a private room somewhere, an old man in a brocade robe, with several middle-aged men standing behind him, immediately turned ugly when they saw the formation in the auction item, and snorted coldly. "Humph, I didn't expect that in Beifang Market, in addition to our Huang family, there would be other formations flowing in." The middle-aged man behind him thought for a moment, bowed slightly, and analyzed respectfully. "Fourth uncle, other formation families should know the rules, and it is impossible for them to sell formations to Beifang Market. They should be some small forces that don't know the rules, and they are just first-level low-grade formations, which are not to be feared. Zhou Yin, this matter is not big or small, but the formation is the foundation of my Huang family after all. Remember not to be careless. Strengthen the monitoring of the market transactions in the future. If someone sells formations, remember to notify me." "Yes, fourth elder." The next few auction items are also first-level medium-quality to high-quality magic tools, elixirs, talismans, natural materials and treasures, etc., with prices ranging from 300 to 1,000. The 13th auction item, Zhou Daoqing's second auction item, 2 bottles of Linghuan liquid, appeared, in theory, as a second-level material. The value of Linghuan liquid is at least more than 1,000 lingshire, or even higher. But because the quantity was too small, the price was severely suppressed. Finally, it was purchased by a foundation-building family proficient in alchemy at a price of 600 low-grade spirit stones per bottle, a total of 1,200 low-grade spirit stones. Zhou Daoqing's face was excited. The auction did not disappoint him. This was the largest amount of spirit stone income he had ever obtained, a full 1,580 low-grade spirit stones. Of course, most of it came from the spirit spring liquid, which was not a sustainable income. If the spirit spring liquid was sold in large quantities, it would likely cause the spirit spring eye to dry up, which was really not worth the loss. If it was not for a last resort, Zhou Daoqing would not have been able to fish in a dry pond and overuse the spirit liquid in the spirit spring eye. If he wanted to obtain spirit stones in the future, he must find other ways. Now is the 18th lot, 6 first-grade green-bearded shrimp seedlings, 2 males and 4 females, starting price 100 low-grade spirit stones. After the words fell, Zhou Daoqing's eyes lit up. Green-bearded shrimp? Meng Yueshan, do you know this kind of shrimp? Zhou Daoqing had never heard of green-bearded shrimp, but since the seedlings were auctioned at the auction, it meant that there was a high probability that they could be bred and cultivated, which made him very excited. Meng Yueshan thought for a moment and said, "Sir, this is a carnivorous shrimp, with plump meat, rich in spiritual energy, and relatively docile personality, suitable for family forces to cultivate, and can be raised in the spiritual spring pool in our valley." It's true. Zhou Daoqing nodded slightly. Most of the monsters in the world of cultivation are extremely fierce and extremely difficult to tame, but there are also a small number of docile personalities that can be used as meat. 500 low-grade spirit stones. Zhou Daoqing raised the price by 100, but was soon drowned out by other voices. 550 low-grade spiritual stones. I'll pay 600. It's just 6 green-bearded spiritual shrimp seedlings. Whether they can be fed or not is a question. That's all. I will give you 100 more spiritual stones and 700 low-grade spiritual stones. Someone sneered, quite disdainful of this clumsy method, and directly increased the price to 750 low-grade spiritual stones. If the 6 green-bearded shrimp seedlings can be successfully bred, they will represent a complete production chain. From now on, green-bearded shrimps will be continuously provided every year, and the spiritual stone benefits they bring will be far beyond what can be compared with hundreds of spiritual stones. Under normal circumstances, the net income of a first-grade high-grade spiritual shrimp in a year will never be less than 2,000, or even more. This is a huge temptation for most chi refining and foundation building families. However, what the person said before was right. If the breeding fails and all the shrimp larvae die, the money will be wasted. Therefore, when the price is close to 800 low-grade spiritual stones, the voices of quotations are much less. Zhou Daoqing had thoughts in his eyes. After hesitating for a moment, he decided to give it a try. Since he had a spiritual spring eye, the water source was of high quality, and the success rate was still very high. 1,000 spirit stones. That when the price was reported, the entire venue was quiet for a few seconds. After it reached 4 figures, the price-performance ratio of green-bearded shrimp seedlings was much higher, and many families were unwilling to take risks. As the transaction was successful, Zhou Daoqing breathed a long sigh of relief and finally managed to capture the 6 shrimp fry without any danger. Chapter 38 Ink Silk Cloud Pattern Stockings. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Not long after, the waiter from Xian Pavilion came to the private room with a sealed glass box containing 6 small shrimp fry. The maid respectfully said, "Senior, this is the item you bid for. The spiritual stones consumed will be deducted from the income from the sale of the auction item." Zhou Daoqing took it over. The shrimp seedlings were very small and swam in the diluted spiritual liquid. They had plenty of vitality and seemed to have a high chance of survival. After confirming that everything was correct, he placed the box on the table beside him. Living things could not be put into storage bags, so he needed to be extra careful during transportation. After purchasing the green-bearded spiritual shrimp, he was no longer eligible for other auction items. The prices of most of the auction items were far beyond his ability to afford. He could only sigh in despair and secretly thought that he had to work hard to earn spiritual stones. When the auction was coming to an end and was about to enter the final auction stage, Zhou Daoqing went to the backstage in advance, took away his own spiritual stones, and then left the auction site. The competition between the second-level iron-armored puppet and the purple monkey flower was not something he could participate in at all, including the disputes that might occur after the auction. which were even more dangerous. Therefore, Zhou Daoqing chose to leave early and took the remaining 580 low-grade spiritual stones to buy some items needed for life and cultivation. In terms of life, in order to prepare for the expansion of power in advance, a batch of daily necessities needed to be purchased, such as clothes, luminous stones, communication stones, pots and pans, etc., are all common items, and the price is not expensive, only costing 50 low-grade spirit stones. In addition, cultivation items are relatively expensive. I spent more than 300 spirit stones to buy some first-level medium-grade Huiling pills and Fuyuan pills, which can restore spiritual energy and heal injuries. They are the most commonly used pills for qi refining cultivators. Before the auction ended, Zhou Daoqing took Meng Yueshan and the other two and set off on the return journey. Compared to when I first came, I now have a lot more resources. After returning to the valley, I planted both the farming and breeding industries can develop. Yellow thorn vines and green-bearded shrimps are very good resources. The 7th day of the return journey, about halfway through the journey, we have already left Beifeng City and entered the uninhabited wilderness. The number of monsters has increased dramatically. Holding a machete, Meng Yueshan has killed a first-level medium-quality black wolf monster. He skillfully collected wolf teeth, peeled off the complete wolf skin, and covered the bloody smell. Just then, the sound of swords colliding came from the deep jungle in the distance. The 4 of them were alert at the same time. They ignored the corpse of the monster and looked vigilantly at the place where the sound came from. At the same time, they quickly bent down to avoid being exposed. The current location is already an area occupied by monsters. If there are cultivators, there are only 2 possibilities, either a team of family insect forces, or a hunting team composed of scattered cultivators. Either way, it may bring great danger. My lord, there should be a dispute among the cultivators. Meng Yueshan whispered. Zhou Daoqing frowned. He left the market early just to avoid disputes. He didn't expect to run into trouble halfway. Can we take a detour? Meng Yueshan thought about it and drew a rough map on the ground based on the surrounding terrain. It's a bit troublesome. The mountain terrain here is complicated. If you take a detour, you need to walk more than half a month. More than half a month? Zhou Daoqing's face was a little ugly. After weighing it for a long time, he said in a deep voice, "It's too far. The green-bearded shrimp can't stand it for so long. Let's go and see what happened in front first. If it doesn't work, take a detour." Considering the time factor, Zhou Daoqing decided to check the situation first. He restrained his breath and approached the front carefully. The sound of fighting became more and more obvious, and the roars of both sides came into his ears. When he heard the sound, Meng Yueshan's face suddenly changed, and he said in surprise, "Is it Lin Yuan?" Zhou Daoqing was stunned, remembered something, and asked, "The casual cultivator I met in Baihe Market?" Meng Yueshan nodded silently. His expression became a little serious. Lin Yuan and he were at the same realm and their strengths were comparable. If the enemy was difficult for both parties to deal with, then he must be very powerful. "Sir, things may be troublesome. Should we participate?" Meng Yueshan lowered his voice. Zhou Daoqing looked at him in surprise. "Isn't he your old friend? Don't you want to help him?" Meng Yueshan was also stunned and scratched his head. "That being said, if you want to put yourself in danger, it's really unnecessary." Before he finished speaking, Huang Zhuo on the side added concisely, "Sir, that person has a grudge against Brother Meng, and the 2 of them even robbed a woman." This sentence silenced the 4 people present. Zhou Daoqing looked at Meng Yueshan in surprise with a strange expression. Meng Yueshan's expression froze, and his face turned visibly dark. He kicked Huang Zhuo in anger. "Don't bullshit me. I have forgotten about this matter a long time ago. Do you really think that I, Meng, will do this for a mere woman? That's not an ordinary woman. Sister Lan is the sexy Sister Lan with a bust of 2.5 feet and wearing black silk cloud pattern gauze stockings." "Wow!" everyone exclaimed. "Bullshit." Meng Yueshan showed an angry expression and said word by word, "It's obviously 3 feet, and it's not just black silk cloud pattern gauze stockings, but also pleated rabbit ear skirt, tianxiang tight leather pants, dark flower lustful purple cloud clothes, cloud rain dragon phoenix snow gauze robe, woo 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 my Elan. Zhou Daoqing's face turned black. What the hell is this? Has it developed too advanced? Seeing Meng Yueshan being hit in the sore spot and about to shed tears, Zhou Daoqing hurriedly stopped him. Don't worry, old Meng, you come back today and you will eventually take back everything you have. Sir, don't comfort me, I have forgotten. But that's 2.5 feet. 3 feet, Zhou Daoqing. Through the dense jungle, Zhou Daoqing looked at the battle area, where there were dozens of people fighting, and several people were already lying on the ground with casualties. One of the parties was Meng Yueshan's old acquaintance Lin Yuan. A total of 5 people participated in the battle. 1 was at the 8th level of Qi training, 2 were at the 7th level, and 2 were at the 6th level. They were currently at an absolute disadvantage and could only barely resist. There were 8 enemies, all wearing black robes, with fierce faces and ruthless attacks. They were not ordinary cultivators at first glance, and their strength was obviously stronger. The leader was also at the 8th level of Qi training, and there were 4 more at the 7th level of Qi training, and 3 at the 6th level of Qi training, occupying an absolute chance of winning. Meng Yueshan analyzed in a low voice, Sir, the other party should be a group of evil cultivators, and their strength is not weak. Evil cultivators. Zhou Daoqing understood that among the large group of casual cultivators, most casual cultivators make a living by hunting monsters, but there are also a small number of evil cultivators who kill people and rob treasures. Most of these evil cultivators are in remote areas and rarely appear around the righteous forces. I didn't expect that it was actually a group of evil cultivators. Sir, are you going to take action? If we join, the chances of winning are not small. Meng Yueshan said in a deep voice. Once Meng Yueshan joined the battlefield, the number of Qi training level 8 would form a 1-to-2 situation, and Zhou Daoqing would block other cultivators, and the chances of winning would definitely not be low. Chapter 39, Encircling and Killing the Evil Cultivator. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zhou Daoqing looked at the battle situation with sharp eyes, analyzing the pros and cons of this action. His side was not strong, and any accident might lead to eternal damnation. After thinking for a long time, Zhou Daoqing still chose to take action. Judging from the distribution of strength, once he and Meng Yueshan joined the battlefield, the chances of winning were still very high. Moreover, he had the idea of expanding his power before, and this was a very good opportunity. Old Meng, listen to my command. Seeing that Zhou Daoqing was going to take action, Meng Yueshan's eyes became cautious, and his voice was lowered a few points. He whispered, Sir, what should we do? Zhou Daoqing said in a deep voice, if we rashly join the battle, even if we can win in the end, we will inevitably suffer heavy losses, so we must find a suitable opportunity to try to use a sneak attack to seriously injure the evil cultivator of the 8th level of Qi training. In the entire battle, the 8th level Qi training strongman played a decisive factor. Once the leader of the opponent was seriously injured or even killed, more than half of the victory would be won. As for other cultivators at the 7th and 6th levels of Qi training, Zhou Daoqing alone could easily deal with them, and there was nothing to fear. Old Meng, you will go around to the back of the battle and hide. I will attract attention from the front, and you will take the opportunity to launch a sneak attack. Zhou Daoqing arranged. Sir, if he attacks you, can you withstand it with your strength? Zhou Daoqing glanced at him. When you fought with me, did I withstand it? Meng Yueshan was stunned, and then he realized that he was worrying too much. Although his master's attack ability is not strong, his earth attribute aura is extremely heavy, like a tortoise shell. Not only is the defense extremely strong, but the magic power is also strong and extremely resistant to beating. Even a strong man of a higher realm will find it difficult to break the defense in a short time. After making such arrangements, Meng Yueshan did not hesitate to bypass the battle area alone and find a hidden area to hide. However, the terrain here is complicated and it is impossible to completely bypass the battle area, so he can only find a tricky position near the right area. After looking at each other and confirming that they were right, Zhou Daoqing officially launched his plan. The strong mana in his body surged, and the earthy yellow spiritual energy attached to the surface of his body, forming a set of armor-like protection. however, it was difficult to condense this layer of mana into substance with only the cultivation of the qi refining stage. The defensive effect was not as strong as expected, and it could only be considered barely enough, always paying attention to the movements on the battlefield. When the qi refining level 8 evil cultivator turned his back to Meng Yueshan, Zhou Daoqing immediately seized the opportunity, thought for only 1 second, and rushed directly into the battle. In an instant, the sudden movement immediately attracted the attention of everyone present. When Lin Yuan saw the person coming, he couldn't help but feel happy, and hurriedly shouted, "This fellow Taoist, this person is an evil cultivator, please help me." That the 8 evil cultivators were also stunned. They were caught off guard. After a little panic, their hands and feet were a little confused for a while. However, the leading man at the 8th level of qi refining reacted the fastest, shouting angrily, "He is only at the 7th level of qi refining, kill him." However, just when he shouted, it was also the time when he was most relaxed. At the most critical moment, Meng Yueshan, who was hiding in the back, suddenly jumped out, and the magic weapon in his hand fiercely stabbed out, and the violent spiritual energy rushed straight to the back of the evil cultivator like a flood. The crisis of life and death surged into his heart, like a thorn in his back, so that this person immediately reacted. His pupils contracted, and tried to fight back, but Lin Yuan, who was in the battlefield, how could he give up such a good opportunity? Not seeking to cause too much damage, it is still very easy to simply lock this evil cultivator. With the tacit cooperation of both parties, Meng Yueshan's sword gained a lot, piercing directly through the back, and the splashing blood fell in the air, rising up curls of hot air. At the most critical moment, the evil cultivator burst out all his strength and tilted his body slightly to the right, which allowed his heart to avoid the sword. In the end, only one arm was disabled. Zhou Daoqing was secretly disappointed. With such a good opportunity, he didn't kill him with one blow, leaving the other party a ray of life. "Don't let them leave, kill them." Zhou Daoqing's voice was cold, and he slapped a 6th level qi refining cultivator with one palm. The heavy energy directly collapsed his chest. Meng Yueshan also reacted immediately. If this group of evil cultivators were allowed to leave, there would be constant troubles and no peace in the future. Thinking of the dangers that might be encountered in the future, he dared not be careless. The offensive was different from the tidal wave, and he chopped at the evil cultivator man continuously. At the same time, Huang Shuo and Zhang Yin also joined the battlefield, cooperating with Lin Yuan's men to start a chaotic battle, filling the disadvantages of the 7th and 6th levels of qi refining, and further tilting the balance of the battle. Seeing such a scene, the evil cultivator of the 8th level of qi training had a sinister look in his eyes and had the idea of retreating. He was already seriously injured. If he continued to fight, the end would be imaginable. However, the battle had reached this point, so how could he stop and leave whenever he wanted? Zhou Daoqing's mind was as clear as a mirror. After using thundering means to deal with 2 qi training levels 7 and 1 qi training level 6, Zhou Daoqing left the remaining few to others, and took the initiative to join the battlefield of the 8th level of qi training. His goal was very clear, not to cause any attack, but to contain and trap the enemy, further reducing the chance of this person escaping. The evil cultivator's breath became more and more weak. Because of the continuous fighting and consumption, the ammunition for replenishing mana had been used up, and the injury on his arm was also getting worse. Now he was at the end of his strength. The other evil cultivators at the 6th and 7th levels of qi refining were also in a panic. Seeing that their boss was unable to change the situation, they all looked for ways to escape. However, due to an oversight, Zhou Daoqing secretly said not good. 2 evil cultivators at the 7th level of qi refining risked serious injuries by shouldering a sword and then forcibly leaving the battlefield. Seeing this scene, the evil cultivator at the 8th level of qi refining seemed to see hope and shouted loudly, "Haha, 2nd and 4th, come and give me a helping hand. As long as you can escape, this place today will be recovered sooner or later." While shouting, he also moved closer to the 2 men, trying to get rid of the siege of Zhou Daoqing and the others. It was too late, but it was too soon. In the midst of lightning and flint, one of the 7th level qi refining monks had a sinister look in his eyes. When his boss was about to approach, he slapped his palm fiercely. "You bastard! What are you doing?" In everyone's surprised eyes, the evil cultivator at the 8th level of qi refining was struck out with a palm, a mouthful of blood spurted out, and he fell to the ground. Meng Yueshan and others were startled, and during this gap, the 2 evil cultivators at the 7th level of qi refining fled quickly, and their figures rushed into the jungle, disappearing completely in one breath. Zhou Daoqing reacted later and found that the evil cultivator on the ground was not unconscious, so he kicked him without hesitation, just a few kicks in the head, but he saw that he only vomited blood and was not unconscious. Meng Yueshan was startled and said, "That adult, you will kick him to death if you do this. What should we do?" "You have to kick the acupuncture points." Chapter 40 Baby Soaking in Wine. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The experienced Meng Yueshan kicked him in the back of the head. The evil leader rolled his eyes and fainted. Zhou Daoqing looked at this scene and touched his chin thoughtfully. Then he inadvertently looked at Lin Yuan aside and suddenly asked, "Which acupoint is it specifically? I have to learn it carefully. If someone escapes accidentally, it will be a big sin." Meng Yueshan was not stingy and explained, "Sir, these are actually the blood vessels on both sides of the neck. You can see it is at this location. Because it bleeds a lot, hitting it hard will make people faint. But this is only suitable for useful during qi training period." "I see, is this here?" Bang! Before Lin Yuan could react, he was slapped directly on the neck. Although the position was a little off, he was still forcibly knocked unconscious. "What are you?" The 2 boys next to him were startled and glared angrily. Before they could say anything, they heard 2 muffled sounds in succession. The 2 of them received 2 sap blows, rolled their eyes and fainted. "Phew, everything goes well." Zhou Daoqing clapped his hands relaxedly and ordered Huang Shuo and Zhang Yin to tie up the 4 people. The harvest this time was good, and a total of 4 people were captured, namely Lin Yuan, his 2 7th-level qi training monks, and the evil cultivator at the 8th level qi training, 2 at the 8th level of qi refining and 2 at the 7th level of qi refining. If they can conquer them all, their strength will definitely increase significantly. However, 2 evil cultivators from the 7th level of qi refining also escaped. As for the others, they all died in the battle, which was considered a considerable loss. During the binding process, a body search was conducted to remove all useful things from their bodies. Lin Yuan and the leader of the evil cultivator each found a storage bag. Adding the 2 in Zhou Daoqing's hands, they now have 4 storage bags and are very wealthy. In Lin Yuan's storage bag, there are more than 300 low-grade spirit stones, a set of first-order high-grade skills 100 waves Zhou, dozens of bottles of used elixirs, a large number of monster materials and spiritual plants, with a value of about 200 spirit stones. In addition, Lin Yuan also had 2 magical weapons, the first-order high-grade blast gun and the first-order mid-grade green-edge armor. Zhou Daoqing accepted them without hesitation. The evil cultivator leader's assets are more abundant, with more than 600 low-grade spiritual stones and a wide variety of materials, which should have been snatched from different cultivators. A simple calculation shows that they are worth more than 500 spiritual stones. Some of them can be used as formation materials or for practice. Zhou Daoqing collected them all, and the rest can be sold. In addition, many magical weapons, exercises, and spells were also found. There were a lot of them, but the quality varied, and not many of them were usable. Among them, Zhou Daoqing found a green rainbow shield and a bone-cutting knife, both of which were of first-class quality. They should be the magic tools used by evil cultivators themselves, and the quality was very good. In terms of exercises, the highest quality was only the first level, and they were not upright exercises. Most of them were crooked methods. Zhou Daoqing only glanced at them briefly and threw them aside. The spells are also unremarkable. Most of them are common spells in the world of immortality, such as fireball, water flow, speed, etc. Zhou Daoqing has learned them in his family. As for the 2 7th-level qi refining monks, they had no storage bags and only carried 1 or 2 magic weapons with them. The quality was relatively poor and they only had dozens of spiritual stones. Zhou Daoqing accepted them all. The harvest is pretty good. Zhou Daoqing clicked the storage bag in his hand with satisfaction. glanced at the darkening sky, and called, "Lao Meng, find a cave nearby, we will be repairing it tonight." "Okay." Meng Yueshan was already familiar with it and started to handle it skillfully. Zhou Daoqing's experience in surviving in the wild has improved a lot. He knew that it was almost night and it would be more dangerous to travel in the dark. Moreover, he was carrying 4 tow bottles, so it would definitely be unsafe on the road, so he decided to rest first. It just so happened that I could directly conquer the 4 of them using mystical magic, thus saving them a long night and many dreams. The thick night was extremely silent, and occasionally the suppressed roars of wild beasts could be heard. In front of a hidden cave, a bonfire burned cracklingly. Surrender or die. Choose one. Zhou Daoqing was roasting meat by himself. The voice asked calmly. "I surrender." The pale-faced leader of the evil cultivators had already had his black robe stripped off. He stared with a pair of dead fish eyes. After considering for a moment, he did not resist too much. "Surrender. Surrender." The 2 monks at the 7th level of Qi refining also buried their heads and gave their own answers. However, at the end, there was an alternative voice mixed in. "I don't accept it." That the 2 monks at the 7th level of Qi refining turned their heads and looked at Lin Yuan with sad faces, saying, "Boss, please stop being so stubborn. It's better to live than die." "Humph, even if I, Lin Yuan, were to be chopped into pieces and fed to dogs, would not surrender to the same person with such a treacherous person." Lin Yuan's eyes were filled with anger, and he looked at Meng Yueshan with cold eyes, obviously extremely angry at his brother's backstabbing. Zhou Daoqing raised his eyebrows, and then nuzzled his lips towards Meng Yueshan, signaling him to think of a solution. After all, he is a monk at the 8th level of Qi refining. He is a powerful player in the family. He is a rare human resource who can garrison a place. Meng Yueshan was also very reliable and gave a reassured look, then he stepped forward and walked in front of Lin Yuan. He heard a crack sound and the bright silver sword was unsheathed, which shocked everyone present. The air was still for 2 seconds, and Lin Yuan said coldly, "Just chop me, if I snort, I'm not a man." Meng Yueshan glanced at him indifferently, and said in a voice without any emotion, "After all, we were brothers. Even if you don't want to surrender, I will persuade you not to kill you." Just when Zhou Daoqing thought that this would be a touching confession of brotherhood, Meng Yueshan moved his wrist and pointed the blade between Lin Yuan's legs, just a few inches away from the sensitive part. This action scared Lin Yuan. Meng Yueshan changed the subject and a hideous smile appeared on his face. "But I heard that you like women and have harmed many girls. Today I will castrate you with great mercy, dry your treasures, and sell them to the grocery store as spiritual objects of heaven and earth." Fuck. Everyone present couldn't help but feel cold in their legs, feeling a chill. "Besides, I heard that Xuanhuan likes fine wine. I will buy this pair of treasures back and make fine wine to share with Alan. You can come and join us, and we will have a good time. However, you should only be sisters with Alan this time." That everyone took a breath and looked at Meng Yueshan with a trace of fear. Even Zhou Daoqing couldn't help but look at him with admiration. Lin Yuan's face flushed red. He opened his mouth repeatedly to say something, but when he saw the long knife between his legs, he didn't utter a word. After holding it in for dozens of seconds, he finally lost his temper and said weakly, "Old Meng, this lord in front of me is handsome and powerful. It is my blessing in my previous life to submit to him.